I want everyone here to know that I'm committed to changing the state of family caregiving. In this country, family caregiving is in crisis. It's been in crisis, and if we don't do something about it, the crisis is going to get worse. As our population ages, there's going to be more of a need for family caregivers. By year 2030, 1 in 4 of us is either going to need a caregiver or we're going to be a caregiver. So caregiving is something that we're not prepared for, and it usually becomes real when we get a phone call. The phone rings, somebody was in an accident, somebody got sick, and again, we can be on either end of that. We can either be the provider of care as a family caregiver, or we could be the person that calls us as our loved one. But what happens when that call is made or when that call is received? You immediately go into crisis because you don't know what's going on. Many cases where I had to be a caregiver, I've actually been at the bedside of over a dozen people as they took their last breath. And in those last days, as a trusted friend and confidant, they would always ask me to do things for them or put some things in order, things that they wanted to change at the last moment, but maybe it was too late. And I always felt like, wow, I wish that we had known this earlier. So during the process of being a caregiver, I got burned out. One of the reasons I got burned out is because I wasn't self-identifying as a caregiver, as many of us don't. Most people have not thought through the areas in their life that make a difference to them. Many of them have a will and things that happen after they die, but they don't think about the time that they're disabled and cannot care for themselves. What happens in that interim? I had planned my career, but I had never planned what happens at the end of life. Right. And that there is a big void between retirement and end of life. So you look at retirees like me, so you move to Florida, you move to the senior living, you have a lot of fun. So you get involved with excitement and pleasure and travel and leisure. But then there's some other things that you want to create peace, joy, and contentment. And one of those things as we age is to make sure that we have everything in order. So if we became disabled and could not speak or care for ourselves, that other people would know what to do. So many times people think that you're just preparing for dying, but what you're doing is preparing to live well, in that interim. So it's bigger than a will or, say, advanced directives. It's really thinking through, what do I need to do to make the rest of my life the best life that it possibly can be? So once I decided that transformation was needed and I was going to step into that space, things began to happen. So I'm a living legacy leader. And a living legacy leader helps people through those periods of times of care, aging, and even end of life. In our retirement planning, we're trying to plan for fun in the sun. But in legacy planning, we're planning for the end of life. And not necessarily death, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So what we have to do is to make the commitment that we want our life to be a blessing instead of a burden. We want to get our affairs in order. And we want to communicate to people what our story is. Because if we don't tell our story, somebody else will. So, I'm inviting you to join me in being a living legacy leader, to get your life in order, share the stories that you've had from caregiving, and help us, to change the world, to change this crisis of care by coming along on this movement of transforming the state of family caregiving.